and welcome to episode 196 of our SAP on Azure video podcast. Today is June 12th, and together with Robert and Goran, we are here to talk about anything related to SAP and Microsoft. Hello, everyone. So today we want to cover two topics. Since we just had Sapphire with some amazing announcements, I first want to do a quick recap from a Microsoft point of view. I'm sure that in the upcoming episodes, we will have an even more deeper dive in some of the topics, but I think it's worth to cover it and start with a quick overview. Then we also want to take another look at the Azure Monitor for SAP Solutions. Although there are no major big updates, I always find it fascinating how continuous the improvements are in the cloud. That's really actually one of the main benefits that I see in the cloud versus on-prem, that you constantly get these small new features that help you to improve your daily business. So that's why I'm really happy to have Sujay and Akarsh with us today, who will later show us again some of these new functionalities. But before we go there, as mentioned, let's quickly take a look at some of the announcement at Sapphire. And I want to start with two blog posts that were actually released by Hiren Shah, and more on a product focused point of view, and then also by Silvio Bessa. So first, if we look at Hiren's blog post, I mean, we talk about here this wheel. This is basically how the Microsoft Cloud and SAP, how we work together, these different areas, and there are quite a few announcements that we released, starting from here the identity management, going over to the SAP OData connector that is now in public preview. Also from an API management perspective, that we now have support for OData. When we look at an infrastructure point of view, we released the MV3 high memory virtual machines. So with really 32 terabytes of memory, which is always still very much fascinating to me, like how much memory we really have available on our virtual machines. Then we also have some announcement on AMS, but obviously we'll go there in more details. There are some new things with the SDAF, with the SAP Deployment Automation Framework, when it comes to HANA scale-out scenarios. We actually talked already about the Azure Backup support for ASE, which is another announcement. And then there are a few other things that are all detailed out here in this blog post. So I think this is definitely worth to check out to get an overview from a product point of view. Then we also had another blog post from Silvio Bessa on a similar topic. So this time focusing more on the AI capabilities, which I also actually want to drill down later on when I talk about the keynote, because there are some really important announcements. First of all, AI Core, SAP AI Core is now also available on BTP on Azure. We obviously see the business technology platform being used by more and more customers, and since AI is obviously a huge topic, we are really glad to see that SAP AI Core is now also available on the business technology platform on Azure. So if you already run RISE with SAP on Azure, if you have other Azure workload, and you also have BTP on Azure, then now you can also use the AI Core services. The cool thing there is that even the latest models, so GPT-4o, are also now available on this AI Core. So if you want to develop an application with BTP and you want to leverage the Gen AI Hub, you can now also access GPT-4o. Then actually, maybe, not sure if this is here, but we are also actually, we also have announced, and maybe this is this blog post here actually from Matthias Roska from SAP, that the business technology platform on Azure is now also available, or will be available in additional regions. So we'll have up to 13 regions now where BTP runs on Azure, which obviously is fantastic. So if you are a customer in here in Tokyo, Sydney, Switzerland, no, these were the regions that are already available. but there are quite a few regions. Here we go. So Brazil, Canada, India, UK, Germany, and some additional regions where we will have the BTP also available on Azure, which I think is again really great if you are a customer in one of these regions. If you already run your SAP systems on Azure, then now you can also very easily consume BTP services on Azure, and then also benefit from functionalities like, for example, the SAP private link to make sure that traffic really is not exposed via public endpoints, but it can really stay on the Azure network. On top of that, we are planning to extend the availability of additional services. So services like Datasphere or the Analytics Cloud, SAP Analytics Cloud, SAP Build Code. These are all services that are used obviously by lots of SAP customers. And again, if you are a customer that runs your workload on Azure, then now you can also leverage these services in even more regions across the globe. Coming back quickly to the blog post from Silvio, he then also really talks a lot about the different AI services. So if you are a Microsoft customer, if you're using the Azure AI Studio, then you might know that we have over 1,600 large language models already available. So not only the very known ones from OpenAI, but also from Meta. A lot of open source large language models are available there. So this is certainly a great place to start. But again, also considering the integration with BTP, with the Gen AI Hub, there we see more closer collaboration. Now, what was really fascinating, so again, here we just go to the different announcements around infrastructure, but what was really fascinating were all the announcements around Copilot and SAP. And actually, instead of doing this here from Silvio's blog post, let me actually switch over to the official announcements from SAP. So we announced, so actually Christian Klein in his very first keynote talked about integrating Joule, so SAP's digital assistants with Copilot. And in this blog post here outlines the details, like what do we have planned, what's the idea that SAP Joule users can easily use Copilot from SAP Joule to access information from Microsoft 365 and other Copilot functionalities, and vice versa, that if you are using Copilot, maybe from Teams, maybe from Outlook, maybe from Excel or something like that, that you can also from there access SAP Joule content, which I thought was really, really great. So if I actually tried to wait, let me close this here. I tried to summarize some of these things in a blog post from myself on LinkedIn, where I basically ran through the day one of Sapphire. And again, so it was really Christian Klein. One of the very first things that he said in his first keynote was talking really about this SAP Joule and Copilot integration. But then there were some follow-up details, and I'll cover them in a second, by Muhammad Alam and Jürgen Müller in their innovation keynote. But actually, even right after Christian Klein's keynote, Jan Gilg and Eric van Rossum talked about their investments with SAP S/4HANA Public Cloud and Copilot. And they, I mean, it was really great, first of all, to see the evolution of ECC. Like this is the typical SAP GUI screen, and this is now the new screen with S/4HANA Public Cloud. You can see there's a huge evolution in the user experience. But then he also really talked about, wait, this is all advertising. He talked about the Copilot integration, and he had some really, really cool demos where he basically started the journey from Copilot, where he asked Copilot about information of sales orders in the SAP system, in the SAP S/4HANA system, and really by just typing in the natural language term, show me the sales orders, and he would get all the informations back from the SAP system. Then he switched the sites and he went into S/4HANA Public Cloud, and he had Joule running. So Joule could obviously also interact here with the data on the SAP side, he could then from Joule create an email using generative AI, using Azure OpenAI services to create this email. So it was really, really great to see how S/4HANA public cloud, even today, is already using Copilot and the Azure OpenAI services to generate content. All of this will be very, very soon available in S/4HANA public cloud first. So similar like the previous Teams integration. If you are interested, if you are an SAP S/4HANA public cloud customer, then you can already sign up to this campaign to get early access. So I think I can definitely highly recommend to do this. Then we had another session by Robert Hernandez to talk about Copilot Studio and SAP, and it was a really, really packed, crowded session where he talked about how you can create your very own Copilot and SAP integration. How really in this Copilot integration we adhere to single sign-on principles. So if you have permissions in the SAP system, then it really depends on what you see in the Copilot. So that was also a really great session, and we're actually in the process of releasing a blog post and a repo on GitHub so that you can easily reproduce these scenarios by yourselves. Then, as mentioned, the last thing was then this innovation keynote by Muhammad Alam. Muhammad Alam had actually invited Scott Guthrie, so Scott Guthrie from Microsoft, on stage. And they together talked and did basically a deep dive on this Joule and Copilot integration. So the scenario was that you're looking for a project team, basically a project offsite. You start your journey in SAP Start. You have Joule on the right-hand side, and Joule can now create a Teams channel for you, for example, for your team members. It then can interact and send invites out, but it can also interact with Concur, for example, and start to book the trips for your team members there. So it was a really cool story that showed how from Joule you can interact with Microsoft services, but you can obviously also interact with SAP services. Then they also switched personas and switched the user experience basically. So then they continued in Copilot. They enabled an SAP Joule plugin, and now from Copilot you could ask Joule about information on this upcoming trip, about the costs and involved for this trip, which is obviously all the data that is available on the SAP side. But now Copilot could just ask a friend, so ask Joule to get this relevant information, and all this information would be displayed here directly in Copilot. So again, this is a very, very quick overview of what was announced or what was shown at Sapphire. Most of these topics, or for most of these topics, we will have deep dive sessions in the upcoming weeks. So, but again, my intention was really to just give you a quick glimpse of some of the things that we announced at Sapphire from a Microsoft perspective. With this, as mentioned, I would like to hand it over to Sujay and Akarsh. Maybe before we go into the topic, maybe for our listeners and viewers that do not know you. I mean, you have been on the show before, which is fantastic, but maybe you can quickly start to introduce yourself, what you do at Microsoft, and then, then let's take a look at AMS.
Well, thanks a lot, Holger, for having us again. We are really excited to be back at your channel. I am Sujay Jain. I am working as a senior product manager in SAP on Azure Core Engineering Group. And our area of span or focus is around how can we make it easy for our SAP customers to onboard to Azure, be it in form of deployment, management, and monitoring experiences that we can build. So that is the area that we are focusing on. I have with me Akarsh Prabhu, who is also part of it for our team. Akarsh, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Thanks, Sujay, and thanks, Holger, for having me. But yeah, I'm Akarsh Prabhu, and I work with Sujay in the same team of SAP on Azure. And I'm one of the product managers for Azure Monitor for SAP Solutions, which we're going to talk about today.
Fantastic. Well, really
Yeah.
great to have you back here.
Thank you.
Awesome. So today we are going to talk about some of the important features that we have built within AMS, and we're going to talk about it. But for starters, we would just do a refresher. We'll talk
Yes.
about what Azure
What is
Monitor for SAP
AMS?
is. Yeah, what is AMS? So um, AMS is just one place for monitoring your SAP landscape on Azure. So it's a pure turnkey solution. It's an Azure native monitoring solution, which can help you monitor your SAP systems end to end, which means that it's not just the application layer, but also the database layers. Like if you have HANA DB or any DB scenarios where you have SQL Server or IBM DB2, you can monitor your databases with AMS at one place. And along with that, you can monitor your underlying infrastructure, which is high availability pacemaker clusters or Linux operating system as well. Akash, if you can go to the next slide. Now, if you look at this very high level architecture, you will see that a lot of goodness that is already been built as part of Azure Monitor platform. We are bringing that goodness in Azure Monitor for SAP solution as well. Here, users have or customers have a lot of flexibility in terms of how they want to store their data, how long they want to store their
Mhm.
data, the secret management, the orchestration framework that we have, the scale options. So this architecture enables customer to scale their AMS systems without worrying about doing manual effort or putting a lot of effort in configuring and maintaining the solution. So here you will see we have a section called Manage Resource Group, which contains the brain or the whole monitor part of the system. And then we have set of providers, which is a piece of code or functionality, which helps us pull data from these different layers of your SAP system. In monitor section, we have log analytic workspace, which is used to store data. Key vault is storing all the credentials, secretly. Azure Functions acts as the brain of the system. It orchestrates all the data pulls based on frequencies defined, and from each layer, what data needs to be pulled. And then we have storage queue or storage account, which is used to take care of all the operational health telemetry within the monitor. And we have very close integration with our other partner tools, which is Azure Center for SAP Solution, another very important solution for customers who are looking to manage the life cycle of their SAP systems on Azure. So with these deep integrations, we have been able to bring in a lot of insights between these two systems and help customers run their systems reliably and in a performant manner. We also support the Azure Managed Grafana instance. So customers who have Grafana instance and they would like to leverage the data that has been pulled by AMS, they can build their own custom dashboards on Grafana instance as well.
Mhm.
Now, in terms of benefits, Azure Monitor for SAP Solutions or AMS comes with a lot of benefits. We just talked about how easy it is to monitor all the different layers at one place. We have some functionality called Azure Landscape Monitor, which is a single pane to monitor all the different landscapes or groups of SAP systems that you would like to monitor. You can look at the health and status and how each layer has been performing in terms of alerts or health events that have been fired. You have all the flexibilities in terms of visualization and data analysis. We are using Azure Workbooks. Customers can use Azure Workbooks to define their own dashboards or reports. And for ad hoc data analysis, there is Azure Log Analytics Storage Workplace available, where you can run your ad hoc queries to get the data. You can also set up custom alerts based on your specific needs. As I mentioned before, there is no licensing cost of AMS. It's a free to use product. It's only the usage based pricing. So it all depends on amount of data that you're storing or the number of systems you're monitoring and the alerts you're setting up. That's the usage based pricing we are talking about. And again, setting up AMS is super easy. Just with few prerequisites and providing few details around your SAP system, you can start monitoring your SAP systems very quickly. And there is no, hardly any maintenance cost or effort that you need to put in to maintain your solution, monitoring solution. Along with that, we have also been working on, and again, we are very excited about this, is some of the contextual insights that we are bringing in. So we have already have basic insights where customers, if they find any problem at SAP application layer, they can come to AMS, investigate the issue, and then can also look at contextual data from infrastructure perspective, be it health events, RCS. You can look at with just a click of a few buttons, and you don't have to go to 10 different solutions or places just to figure out where the problem can be. Along with that, we have also been working on some of the AI ops or machine learning capabilities. So we are working on developing automated anomaly detection capability, which is under development, which will help detect the anomalies automatically, and
Cool.
we will be able to, notify customers as well in case of anomalies. Things like auto correlation. So right now, the whole correlation process is more visual and manual in process, but we are also looking to see how we can bring in data from different layers of an SAP system and figure out where the probable problem is. So auto correlation of issues is also something that we are looking into. Ability to auto heal system that is in our North Star or in the roadmap, how we can take action based on anomalies or issues that we are finding. Can we take some corrective actions or remediation actions based on the signals that we are receiving? So this is something that we are thinking as well. So all in all, we get a lot of benefits in terms of cost, scale, maintenance, coverage, and then also the AI ops capabilities that we are bringing in as part of AMS. Now with that, we will move on to some of the new functionalities that we are introducing as part of AMS. Akarsh, please take it away.
Wait, you're you're on mute, Akash?
I hope you're able to hear me now.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, we'll start off with the area of alerts. Alerts, AMS being a monitoring solution, being able to notify customers through alerting becomes super critical. AMS does have alerting capabilities already. We use the alerting framework or the foundations that Azure Monitor has set up for us, and we use that same framework to set up alerts on SAP metrics. What we've gone ahead and done is we've enhanced that capability to be able to enable certain set of features that we've had asks from multiple customers. Now that large sized customers are coming in with a large SAP landscape, where they would want to make or they would want to configure these alerts in bulk. So to start off with, we've made these alerts managed, which means now the AMS service is creating alerts on your behalf, which basically enables us to enable certain new features that we've listed down here, and also we'll see a demo of. First of all, what we're seeing is a centralized alerts management experience, unlike the current experience where it is provider level. We also have ways for you to bulk create alerts based on automation and so on. We've also come up with recommended alerts where for each provider type, we have a top 5 or 6 recommended alerts which we suggest to you based on the kind of provider that you're setting it up on. We also have access to processing rules. Processing rules is nothing new. It's been on Azure from quite a while, but being able to set it up in context of SAP workloads is something that we've enabled as part of this. Lastly, this is more of a user experience, but a grid view of all the alerts across your SAP landscape, which basically helps you bulk manage them in terms of giving a user response, enabling or disabling them, and so on. So let's jump from slides to something exciting, which is demos. So I'll try to bring up my Azure portal. I hope you're able to see my Azure portal for the demo.
Yes.
Perfect.
Maybe could you zoom in one time or something like that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So just to recall, this is how our Azure Monitor for SAP Solutions overview page or the landing page looks like. We have all the providers that you set up right here. And these are the different visualizations that we have for each provider type. So for this demo of alerts, let's get into any one provider, say the NetWeaver provider, and look at what the current alerting experience looks like. So for the NetWeaver provider, you get into the alert setup section. You'll be able to see fired alerts, all the configured alerts that you have for this particular provider, which is the NetWeaver one, and then alert templates. This is something that we've gone ahead and done to bring in that SAP context on the Azure alerting framework that we have. As you can see, the current alerting experience is on a provider level. So if you want to create alerts for NetWeaver, you get into the NetWeaver workbook. You get for HANA, you get into the HANA workbook, and so on. Like I told you, we attempted to bring all of this into one place, trying to create a more centralized experience. And that is where you are seeing a new alerts tab on the table of contents right here. As part of this alerts experience, what first you're seeing here is fired alerts across your SAP landscape. So say you're monitoring 4 or 5 SAP systems on the AMS instance. For all of these SAP systems, you might have created say 10 to 15 providers across these provider types. If you want to see fired alerts across these providers, that is where you use this screen. Here you're seeing all of these alerts listed. One key reason why we wanted to bring this centralized alerting experience or fired alert experience is the grid view that you have. With this grid view, what you'll be able to do is bulk manage these alerts. One thing that customers usually do is provide a user response for these alerts. So you could bulk select these alerts. You could filter these alerts based on a particular provider name, provider type, or severity. You could only pick up SEV0 alerts and so on. And then you could bulk select them, change user response. You could mark them acknowledged, you could mark them closed, and so on for multiple alerts at once.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing, if you're a new AMS customer and you would want to know what will be a good set of alerts that I can get started with, say you've set up NetWeaver alerts, you could see that we are recommending these 5 alert types. You could simply enable them, whichever
nice.
you're interested in. Yeah. And the next important thing is in the past experience, you had to select a particular provider for which you set up an alert. But then as part of this experience, if you have multiple providers, say here, I think for operating system, you have multiple providers, you could select all of these providers at once. You select, let's see what's missing here. Yeah, so you will have to give a unique name for this alert. And then you could simply pick an alert rule, select all the providers that you require, and then create. And this will bulk create these alerts for all the providers that you've selected. That is how these recommended alerts would work. Something similar again for creating alerts as well. Say you have, you would want to create alerts for a certain provider type. For NetWeaver, we have multiple of these alert templates that we have. So here again, you could pick a particular alert rule, choose all the providers that you want to create alerts for, and then create these alerts. Few things that we've brought in from the alerting framework are few preview features. For example, one thing that the customers have a pain point of is that if an issue occurs, we are seeing a lot of alerts, a bunch of alerts being triggered because the alert did last for a long time, but then we would want one single alert and it should stop. So that kind of rule-based alerting triggering was not possible in the past, but now there are certain features such as one thing is there is a way you can resolve alerts once that particular condition is not met anymore. There is no manual effort required for you to go ahead and resolve these alerts one by one. So automatic resolving of alerts is something that you can enable. Second thing is mute actions. Mute actions is once a certain alert is fired, you can mute actions, which is, of course, you would be aware of something called as action groups, which is when an alert is fired, you could create an action group. And these action groups are nothing but things like email, webhooks, or an ITSM integration, and so on. So if you would want to mute actions for a certain amount of time, you could do that by giving a certain amount of minutes for which you would want to mute these actions, and you could create these alerts as part of this experience. So that is how you would create alerts using these managed alert experience. Going into the alert rules. Yeah, so this is where we are looking at all the alerts that you've configured. So we call it alert rules as part of the Azure Monitor framework. So all of these alert rules are the ones that you've created across your SAP landscape. Say at a certain point of time, you would want to disable these alerts for any reason. The reason could be things like a planned maintenance is going to occur for you this weekend. So on the Saturday morning, you come here, you select all your alerts, and you disable them. This is what you can do in bulk. And whenever your planned maintenance is done, you could select all of them and enable them as well. So this is one of an example of how you could bulk manage these alerts, other than, of course, changing the user response of these alerts as well. The last item that I wanted to take you through, which might be useful in SAP context, is the usage of alert processing rules. So for ones who are not familiar with alert processing rules is nothing but a rule that gets triggered when a bunch of alerts get triggered from a particular scope. So here, the scope is nothing but the log analytics workspace. So if you remember from Sujay's architecture diagram, all the telemetry of AMS is stored in the log analytics workspace, and all the alerts are set up with this resource as the scope. So if you want to set up an alert processing rule for this particular scope, you go ahead, create an alert processing rule. The kind of alert processing rules that you can create is you can suppress this notification, or you could apply a certain action group as part of this processing rule. Now coming to what is the use case in terms of SAP. So customers have asked us, yes, okay, great that you can bulk manage alerts, you can enable, disable alerts whenever we'd want to. But is there a way we can do this in a scheduled manner? Can I schedule the processing rule for a certain day at a certain time? Another thing is, every week we have this particular need. Can I create a recurring rule where I do not want these alerts to trigger actions? So all of this is possible using alert processing rules, which you can apply for this particular AMS instance. So let's go back. So yeah, this is what I had on managed alerts. So currently this feature is in preview. You can go ahead and try it out on your AMS instance and let us know of your feedback before we go GA for this feature.
So that's fantastic, Akarsh. That's really great. And even though, I mean, this might look like a small thing, I think what's great to see is, I mean, first of all, we see broader and broader adoption by customers, obviously, and with this there is customer feedback. And what I really love is how you are taking this customer feedback and implementing it in the solution and improving it constantly. And I mean, as you said, this bulk creation, for example, I guess there's a workaround. You can do it manually. But with the feedback that you're getting from customers that's saying, look, it's a little cumbersome to do this one by one, you implemented new functionalities and now it's there, and other customers can also benefit from it. So I really love, as I mentioned, this continuous improvement, this continuous additions that you're doing for AMS. So I think this is really fantastic.
Yeah, that's the exact intent, Holger. Thanks. Sure.
Okay.
Let me move to the next one. Yeah, so another thing that we want to talk about is with more and more customers coming in with really large SAP landscapes, they are creating a bunch of providers, few in scale of hundreds, thousands, and so on. When this scale of SAP systems come into AMS, of course, you would see the cost increasing. Like Sujay said, Azure Functions is one of the key resources which makes up AMS, and it is responsible to orchestrate the data pool or the telemetry pool from different parts of your SAP system. As this Azure function gets loaded, it obviously scales to support all the telemetry pull. And that is when the cost does increase for you to a certain extent. The current architecture, we use the premium plan or the elastic premium plan, like we used to call it. What this elastic premium plan allowed us to do was enable dynamic scaling for your function apps based on your need. It also helped us avoid cold starts, gave us all the required features when it comes to security scale. It gave us an improved predictability when it comes to pricing compared to the consumption plan, which is the most primitive one. And it also gave us a flexibility of being able to deploy multiple function apps based on our different provider types. What we discovered, though, with continuous collaboration with the Azure Functions team, is that we have the dedicated or the app service plan that we can enable for hosting our Azure functions, which is a better fit for our use case of AMS, where we would get an even better predictability when it comes to cost. So here, we are able to define rule-based scaling, and we have a more powerful hosting plan that we could enable for Azure Functions. This gives us better scalability, improved reliability, and also reduced costing for customers. What we went ahead and did was we run continuous end-to-end testing, scale testing, benchmarking, and so on. And as part of the internal benchmarking result, what we basically saw is if customers use dedicated app service plans under the AMS, it was able to host 10 times more providers on one single instance of the hosting plan. And when it comes to costing, 80% reduced cost when it comes to monthly cost. So here we've taken a particular example where one monitor had around 47 NetWeaver instances, and the costing reduction was specifically because it was spinning up 12 versus one instance, which is in Elastic Plan, it used to spin up 12 instances versus one instance, which it would spin up with the dedicated app service plan. So this is what we are proposing our customers to move into. Of course, as we call it, we are a managed resource group under AMS, which means the function app is managed by us. And that is why what we've gone ahead and done is if you have an existing Azure Monitor for SAP instance, using this preview, with one single click, you have the hosting plan mentioned for you in the overview. You could click on edit. You could pick the dedicated premium V3 plan and then update the hosting plan. And with just one click, you're able to migrate your existing AMS instances to the dedicated premium plan. Of course, the monitor is going to pause for 2 to 4 minutes where you might have data gaps. But then right after that, you'll be able to get all of these benefits when it comes to scaling, costing, as well as reliability. So this is what we have when it comes to the dedicated functions hosting plan. For any new monitor instance that you create from now on, we are going to, by default, host your Azure function on the dedicated hosting plan, which gives you all these benefits. So, yeah.
So, yeah, just to add more on it, Holger, this has been a fantastic effort done by our engineering team to constantly optimizing the underlying logic as well as the computation costs as well. So as we saw, there can be significant performance gains as well as the cost reductions. Imagine if a customer has close to 20-30 SAP systems that they're monitoring. In our internal test, we have seen the cost coming down by 6 times. So if a customer is paying, say, $1,000 for monitoring systems per month, it can come down to, say, 160 to 170 as well. So that's a significant cost reduction on the in terms of running the monitoring solution.
Is there some break even, like when I only have one SAP systems, that going with the dedicated plan would be more expensive, or is it always better to go with the new plan?
So honestly, yeah, it's always better to go with the dedicated plan because first of all, there's the cost of Elastic Premium plan itself is on the higher side. So if you monitor just one system, the cost would be higher. But as you add more and more systems, the cost will start coming down in case of dedicated SKU plan.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. One last thing that we would want to talk about is security and privacy have been top of mind for almost all our customers, including Microsoft for all of their Microsoft services as well. While we were doing this, multiple of these customers came back to us talking about few of the resources that we deploy as part of our managed resource group. Two of the critical ones are storage account and the key vault. Customers said that, yes, as part of AMS, we do deploy the storage account and the key vault. But right now, the AMS service accesses these two services as part of the public network. And this is something that customers weren't comfortable with, of course. And the ask was to support trusted access, or basically private endpoints, and the method through which AMS service should access these storage accounts and key vaults. This was a long pending ask, which we wanted to address, and we are here with trusted access support in AMS. So on a high level, trusted access is nothing but a secure way to access resources that are part of the AMS deployment. And to give you a quick scenario walkthrough, of course, AMS service for its various operations needs to access these managed resources, such as the storage account and key vault. And the challenge was, the current way where we granted access to the public in its default deployment state. If a customer wanted to make it private, it wouldn't work as expected, and that is what we wanted to solve. And the solution is we've actually enabled system-assigned managed identity, and this managed identity now has private access to these AMS resources, and the customer is free to have a way to control which network and which set of resources can now access these AMS managed resources. This again is super simple. It is part of the same preview. Few things that you would have to do is few customers would have already done it, where you would have to go to the specific subnet where this particular AMS instance is hosted, and then give it access. Basically, add a few service providers. So on the subnet, you go ahead and yes, go to service endpoints, find the specific services. So here we're talking about Microsoft Storage and Microsoft Key Vault. Have these service endpoints added. Click on Save. Go back to your AMS. And what you're seeing new, which did not exist in the past, is this Identity tab here. You could go into this Identity tab and enable this. Enabling this identity, which is system assigned identity on AMS, what we do at the backend as well is we go ahead and disable public access to both the key vault and the storage account, and this does not disrupt the operations of AMS. And that is how we are helping you secure access to all the resources that we have as part of the managed resource group, and give it private access for the AMS service. So cool. That is what we have in trusted access. Yeah.
Cool. And this is also documented, I guess, somewhere that I know what I need to do on the subnet, what settings I need to set there. What would happen if I forget to do this on the subnet and I still try to enable it? I guess I get an error message or something like that, pointing me that the subnet doesn't have the permissions, and then I can do it. I can try it again, basically.
Yes. If you try to enable identity, it is going to give you an error that please go ahead and do that first. That will be a prerequisite, after which you can come here and enable the identity. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds very, very easy to set up. And then obviously dramatically increases the security. So I guess everyone should really do this. Absolutely.
Yeah. And one of the design principles, like Sujay was talking about, is we wanted to make sure each and every configuration step is as easy as possible. Customers need not go to multiple places, follow tons of documentation to enable a small feature. And that is what we've tried to follow as well while bringing in every new feature. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. That's what we had.
Well, that was a lot, I would say. And again, I really, really love, even if some of these things are small, I really like the sum of it, and you can really see. I was thinking back, the first time we talked about AMS, we had, I think, 1 or 2 providers or something in there, and I think there were only very few alert rules, if at all. So and now this solution has really evolved to a fantastic thing that I think any customer running SAP on Azure should definitely leverage.
Yeah, you remind me of all the old times, Holger. Yeah, actually, the way we started and the way we have reached to this level. It's phenomenal. And AMS right now has been used and loved by so many customers. And with these updates, we wanted to send a message that hey, we have been listening to our customers and bringing all
Perfect.
the capabilities that are needed and which can make their life easy as well. So we'll continue to come up with more and more updates based on the feedbacks that we have been receiving. And yeah, we'd love to come back on this show again.
No, absolutely. You have to. You have to. And again, I think what I also really liked when you showed the change of the Azure Function hosting plan, how easy it actually is. I mean, obviously, I guess everything would still work if I don't do this, but why wouldn't I do this? And if it's
Yes.
3 clicks or something like that, as you showed, it's very easy. And yeah, even if there's a short disruption, I think that really doesn't matter. But it's great how you also help customers like not go through these 20 pages and do these manual configurations, but it's a one-click experience or an almost one-click experience. And then you not only save money, but also from a performance perspective, it's getting even better. So I think that's also really great and shows how you really keep your customers in mind and really try to help the customers that are already using AMS. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah. Thanks for having us again.
Great. Good. Sujay, Akarsh, thank you so much for joining. Akarsh, thanks for all the demos. I think that makes it always very practical. You can really see what's happening, and hopefully this excites a lot of customers to give it a try if they have not done it. And yeah, as said, I will definitely look forward to having you back on the show to provide us with some additional, maybe even small updates. That's perfectly fine, but maybe also some bigger ones next time.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, Olga. Thanks for
Bye.
having us. Thank you.
Bye-bye.